SmallAnt made another Pokemon escape room, and just like before, he challenged me, Flygon HG, to beat it. The goal was to make it through a series of seemingly impossible battles with nothing but the provided tools. The escape room ends when I've made it back home to the sweet, loving embrace of my mom. Other than a few clarification notes, I begin the escape room completely in the dark. My only teammate is a gentle Hypno, who's holding a fluffy tail and knows the moves Endure and Switcheroo. My bag is totally empty, save for the Fly HM that will presumably get me out of this hellhole once it's all said and done. Directly south of my spawn location is an open field of flowers and a very misplaced shirtless gentleman. But that's not any shirtless gentleman, that's Chuck, and he instantly kills my Hypno with a level 100 Shedinja. Okay, well, to the west is an overworld item blocked off by a trainer, to the east is a patch of grass as well as another trainer, and to the north is... well, nothing for now. Inside the Pokemon Center is a bug catcher alluding to a mysterious Beedrill, a gentleman who will teach my Pokemon a level up move for the price of a single heart scale, and 2 vendors that sell conveniently heart scales as well as Custap berries. In our box is a grand total of 0 other Pokemon, but by accessing my mailbox, I unlock 10 letters chock full of juicy hints for how to make my way through the escape room's apparently 9 battles. Trainer number 1 appears to be the little kiddo to the left, who has a single level 100 Sableye that knows Fling and is holding the TM for Fling, meaning that by flinging Fling, he can instantly kill Hypno. The nice thing about the move Fling is that in most cases, it can only be used once. I can use Endure so that when Sableye flings Fling, Hypno lives with 1 HP. But then... well, then there's nothing we can do to actually kill Sableye. Fortunately, the mail clue helps out a ton here. With the $5,000 I have at the start of the game, I purchase 1 heart scale and 2 Custap berries. In the grass outside, there seems to be nothing but level 100 Abras, which are effectively useless since they immediately teleport away. But I can use my heart scale to teach Hypno Headbutt, which he uses to ram the moderately sized tree right outside the Pokemon Center, where we encounter a level 100 Beedrill. By using Endure, we can survive a poison jab with 1 HP. This then triggers my held Custap berry, letting Hypno move first and go for a switcheroo to steal the Beedrill's held poison barb, before ultimately dying. But now that we have a poison barb, we have an answer into Sableye. First, I gotta once again kick the Hornet's Nest, though this time after using Endure to survive with 1 HP, I use my lone Fluffy Tail to narrowly escape the battle. Pre-damaged at 1 HP, Hypno can now immediately consume another Custap berry against Camper Spencer's Sableye, thereby letting him switcheroo Fling before it's flung. Now, we still can't kill Sableye, so once our enemies start struggling, Hypno does ultimately die, again. But after abusing Johto's universal free healthcare, I can teach Hypno the previously flung Fling, give him a poison barb, and then jump right back into battle. I use Endure to weather Sableye's first fling. After that, though, it's time for the Flingy to become the Flinger. Hypno flings his held poison barb, one of the few items that gives Fling a secondary effect. In this case, it's a poison, which after just a few turns of failed flings, kills Sableye and wins us the battle. And our reward is a TM for secret power, and nothing else. Well, actually, there's a sign that tells me that the next fight requires a bit of luck. If I continue down this newly unlocked path, I stumble into Pokemaniac Ron, who has a level 28 Giratina that knows Shadow Force. And immediately, I see a potential answer. Hypno just learned Poison Gas, so I can poison Giratina, who will then fall after a few turns of enduring their 2-turn Shadow Forces. The only issue is that Giratina is holding a Pecha Berry, presumably to ruin this exact plan. Now, if I was smart, I would have checked the mailbox and seen that Giratina is not the next Pokemon we have to beat. It's actually Hiker Timothy and his Tyranitar, so that was a waste of about 8 minutes. And what's funny is that I actually did check the mailbox, and then just decided that, no, I'd try to go out of order anyways, because I'm stupid. Well, that was rude. Oh geez, sorry, Past Flygon. I didn't realize you could hear me. Yeah, well, I can. And even if I couldn't, you shouldn't make fun of me just because I can't hear you. I'm not Garchomp FJ. Hey! Did you hear something? No. Well, while I've got your attention, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Yaoling Mythical Journey. Wait, what am I supposed to do while you're doing the sponsorship segment? I don't know, go take a walk or something. So needy. Yaoling Mythical Journey is an RPG adventure game now available on Steam. As a Yaoling keeper, you'll venture through a rich land, meeting and collecting 300 different Yaolings and engaging them in battle. Sound familiar? Well, in a way it is. As a Pokémon fan, there's a lot to like about Yaoling Mythical Journey. Every Yaoling has its own unique creature design and deceptively complex mixture of stats and abilities. My first Yaoling was Meep, because I can't not pick a Yaoling named Meep, like it's almost unfair to all the other Yaolings. But the goat of my playthrough was Bert the Bax, an ox-like bipedal Yaoling that absolutely crushed his enemies. Combat in Yaoling Mythical Journey features an auto-battle system where you command up to 7 Yaolings at a time in a chaotic free-for-all that quickly becomes much more strategy-based than I ever expected. Throughout your journey, you'll collect charms that you can use to assist your Yaolings in battle. And if you want to defeat all 13 schools for Yaoling keepers, you're gonna need them. But that's just scratching the surface of what this game has to offer, and I honestly had a blast with my playthrough. Yaoling Mythical Journey just launched on Steam this week, so if you're interested in checking it out, use the link in the description down below to purchase the game today. And if you buy the game in its first 2 weeks, you'll get 10% off your purchase. Thanks so much to Yaoling Mythical Journey for sponsoring this video. Now, let's throw it back to future me for the rest of SmallAnt's escape room. Alright, well the hint for battle number 2 is both extremely straightforward and incredibly confusing. It's clear that I'll need the recently acquired TM for Secret Power and the move Nightmare, which I can teach Hypno from the move tutor. And I can also pretty quickly connect the dots on generally what I'm supposed to do here. Hiker Timothy's line of sight conveniently overlaps with 1 square of grass. Secret Power, when used in grass, has a 30% chance to put the enemy Pokemon to sleep. Then, by using Nightmare, I'll be able to kill Tyranitar as long as he stays asleep for 4 turns. Remember what the sign said? That the battle's gonna require some luck? Well, I'm banking that the sleep turns are what that was referencing. The issue with all of this is that by buying the heart scale needed to learn Nightmare, I won't have enough money to buy another Custap Berry, which means that I would need to somehow survive at least 1 hit from Hiker Timothy's level 100 Tyranitar, who can easily kill me with Seismic Toss, since that does damage equal to the user's level, which in this case is definitely level 100. I'm completely stuck. How can I possibly survive a single turn from Hiker Timothy's definitely level 100 Tyranitar? I mean, it's crazy. His level 100 Tyranitar so clearly one-shots Hypno, so what am I supposed to do? I can't get a heart scale. Oh, it's level 40. I thought it was level 100. Okay, so that mistake cost me about 20 minutes, but the good news is that I otherwise did indeed have the correct line of thought. After healing Hypno back to full HP, it's time to enact my extremely RNG-heavy plan. And surprisingly, it only takes 2 attempts. On the first attempt, after eating a Seismic Toss, Secret Power just doesn't trigger sleep. But on the second attempt, it does. And then Tyranitar proceeds to stay asleep as Nightmare quickly drains his HP. 4 turns of sleep later, and victory is ours. On the other side of Hiker Timothy is the Move Deleter, an extremely odd resource to unlock, but one that, by nature of an escape room, will obviously be valuable for this next puzzle. There's also yet another sign which reveals that the next battle will also require a tiny bit of luck. The hint for Battle 3 is probably the most confusing one yet. Clearly, Chuck is our next opponent, but nothing else about this clue makes a lick of sense. Yes, Endure can be used to bring Hypno into Custap Berry range, but since Shedinja knows Shadow Sneak, which has priority, our Custap Berry won't actually do anything. So once again, I'm immediately quite stuck. Thankfully, instead of just stewing in my confusion, I rather quickly decide to fight Chuck and see what's up. Well, first I talk to this Milford man who reveals that he's willing to trade me a Mr. Mime for my Hypno, though now is obviously not the right time to make that deal. We'll come back here in a moment. Anyways, in doing so, I discover that Hypno has grown to a high enough level that he no longer obeys me, since evidently Hypno has a different OT. But in that little disobedient wrinkle lies what has got to be the coolest f***ing thing I have ever seen in a Pokemon game. It doesn't take me too long to figure it out, but when I do, like you can genuinely see my mind get blown in real time. Oh, I see. I see what you do. That's so freaking clever. Oh my god. That's insane. Oh my god, you cheeky, wow, jeez. Okay, so here's what I figured out. First, I buy a single Custap Berry. Then I go to the move deleter and get rid of both Nightmare and Secret Power so that Hypno only knows Endure and Fling. Then, against Chuck's Shedinja, I go for Endure. However, because Hypno is disobedient, instead of using Endure, he ignores my command and chooses to use Fling. But because his original move Endure has greater priority than Shadow Sneak, we move before Shedinja and take the kill. That is so damn cool, man. Using disobedience to get fake priority on Fling? Planning out an interaction like that is exactly why SmallAnt is the greatest of all time. I was and remain genuinely so thrilled by that little tech. I love it so much. Anyways, Chuck also has a Latios, but he just immediately uses Memento, so we've beaten the third battle of the escape room and earned the 5th gym badge as a reward, which presumably means that obedience will no longer be a problem. With that though, I bid farewell to Hypno. As we already saw, Pokemaniac Ron and his Giratina are no match for my jaundiced Insomniac, so it's time for some new blood in the form of Rocky the Mr. Mime. She's holding a Lychee Berry and knows her level up moveset of Mimic, Light Screen, Reflect, and Psybeam. Compared to the previous battle, the solution to Pokemaniac Ron is fairly simple. As Giratina goes for a Shadow Force, Rocky sets up a Reflect. This lets her barely tank the super effective hit on the following turn, which activates the aforementioned Lychee Berry to get an attack boost. This is important because we can use Mimic to temporarily learn Shadow Force, and since we're slower than Giratina, we're now free to dodge all of their Shadow Forces and clap back with our own. The reason we needed the Lychee Berry is that Mimic moves only have 5 PP, and thanks to Giratina's pressure ability, we only have 3 chances to hit them for damage. But other than that, this is about as simple as these puzzles get. Just a few short steps away from Ron is another sign telling me it's safe to get rid of Reflect and Light Screen, a lagging tail that I'm sure will be useful soon, and 2 trainers blocking our path, each with their own Mew. Psychic Greg's Mew is actually at level 100 and knows Transform, whereas Beauty Callie's Mew is at level 22 and knows Seismic Toss. The letters in the mailbox reveal that Callie's Mew is our first target, and I pretty quickly figure out the general strategy for her. In practice, it takes a bit of trial and error because on the first few attempts, I try to use as few resources as possible, but ultimately, here's how I get it to work out. At full HP, Rocky survives 3 Seismic Tosses from Mew. So, by using another Heart Scale to teach her Copycat, I can clap back with 3 Seismic Tosses of our own. Unfortunately, that's not quite enough to KO Mew, even though by all accounts, it should be. You ain't slick, Smanta, I know you fudge with those stats. The calcs don't lie, buddy, you are a cooked cheater. So, as a capper, I have to use one more Custap Berry to fire off a quick Psybeam and take the KO. That doesn't leave us with much money at all, but fortunately, Psychic Greg's Mew is pretty simple. With Transform, they'll copy Rocky's entire moveset, but only have 5 PP of each move. So by deleting every other move except Substitute, which we just learned at level 29, I can stall our doppelganger out and watch them struggle themselves to death. It's also worth noting that here's where that lagging tail comes in. Since Mew copied all of our stats, except HP, we're actually speed tied. But with a lagging tail, we're safe to always move second and therefore always set up another Substitute right after Mew breaks the previous one. So with the Mew twins defeated, I'm free to head north to a brand new area featuring a sign that says I messed up. Turns out I was only supposed to delete Psybeam, not all 3 of my moves. But fortunately, my very real Nintendo DS has save states, so after quickly repeating the battle against Psychic Greg, this time with roughly 10 additional turns of PP stalling, we're back on track just over the 2-hour mark. Battle number 7 is against Juggler Horton and his Spinda, who only knows Trick and is holding a Toxic Orb. So the answer to this one, at least generally, is pretty obvious. We just need to find out a way to stop Trick, which has a ton of quirky little interactions, one of which is causing Copycat to fail, so my first instinct of just reversing the Trick every turn is unfortunately a no-go. The actual answer is, again, rather uncomplicated, albeit extremely niche, and one that I likely would have taken a very long time to crack were it not for Bulbapedia immediately outlining every single instance that causes Trick to fail, including when either Pokemon is holding Mail. And since we just so happen to have 10 beautifully handwritten letters from SmallAnt himself, that's all it takes to kill Horton's Spinda and enter the final area of the escape room that I'm calling Double Trouble Mountain. In the top right of DTM is an Oran Berry. In the center is a Magnemity holding a Roap Berry and knowing the moves Endure, Torment, Recycle, and Fling. That is a wild moveset. The lone man on the north side of DTM is looking for a Magneton in exchange for his Natu, and with 2 pairs of trainers, the overall answer to this puzzle is clear. I have to beat one of the 2 sets of trainers to evolve Magnemity, trade them for a Natu, and then beat the other pair to get Xatu, who can finally learn Fly and carry us home to Newbark Town. Based on the final 2 letters in the box, it appears that twins Amy and Mime are my first target. They have 2 Smeargles who both only know Memento. After them is a Tentacruel who knows Acid and Barrier, which we'll need to somehow defeat with Mr. Mime and Magnemity. Once again, the general idea of what I need to do comes pretty quickly. The only real way to damage Tentacruel is with our Roap Berry, which causes an attacker to lose 1/8 of its max HP if the holder is hit by a special move like Acid. I can use Recycle to restore our Roap Berry, but the main problem is that we'll need to somehow survive multiple hits from Acid. Endure is the immediate potential solution, but there's wrinkles there too, since in order for the Roap Berry to activate, the Pokemon has to actually take damage, so I can't just sit at 1 HP. For similar reasons, slapping the Roap Berry onto Magnemity won't do anything, since they're immune to damage from Acid. The solution is tricky, and it takes a solid 30 minutes to successfully plot it out and pull it off. It starts by first setting up a substitute as the Smeargles proceed to Memento themselves into oblivion. As Tentacruel comes out, Rocky's safe behind her sub, which immediately falls to an Acid. Magnemity then gets off a Torment, meaning that Tentacruel will be forced to use Barrier every other turn. So, after setting up another substitute with Rocky on the following turn, I instruct Magnemity to go for Endure, which means that once Tentacruel does indeed go for Barrier, Rocky can then copy her teammate via Mimic. With that though, we're all set up. In fact, we're a little over set up because I need to actually burn through the substitute since Tentacruel doesn't take any damage if she hits into it. But 2 turns later, Rocky can now use Endure, letting her survive Tentacruel's Acid with 1 HP, and triggering not only our held Roap Berry, but also what seems to be a Life Orb? Maybe? Anyways, we don't stop there because this next part is super important. By using Fling, Magnemity can hit Rocky with an Oran Berry. The minimal damage is again endured, but more critically, a secondary effect of flinging a berry is activating said berry, which in this case grants Rocky 10 HP. This means that on the next turn, as Tentacruel uses Barrier, Magnemity can go for Recycle to gain back the lost Oran Berry, and Rocky can use Copycat to pull Recycle and gain back the lost Roap Berry. Then we repeat the process, and because of that 10 HP gained from Magnemity flinging their Oran Berry, Rocky still takes damage from Acid, which therefore again triggers the Roap Berry. It's a real neat little engine, I gotta be honest, and after just a few more iterations, Tentacruel bites the dust, leveling up both Rocky and Magnemity, and allowing the latter to evolve into Magneton. So, with one final trade, I get presumably my final Pokemon, Billy the Natu. She's holding yet another obscure berry, the Pitaya Berry, and has a wild moveset of Psychic, Endeavor, Roost, and Pluck. We've got one last battle against Double Team Zach and Jen. Like Amy and Mime, they lead with 2 level 1 Smeargles, though these ones know Splash and prefer a slow death via their held Toxic Orbs. After them though is a Ghastly that knows Surf for some reason, but yeah, he's at level 80 and will kill both Rocky and Billy in one shot. So the goal here is to figure out a way to kill Ghastly before he kills us, which will require a lot of power and a lot of speed. The Pitaya Berry, if I can activate it, will grant me power in the form of special attack boosts. After a bit of brainstorming, I realized that I can give the Pitaya Berry to Rocky and Billy can use Pluck to eat it. Rocky would then be free to use Recycle, which she learned from her most recent level up, to get the berry back, letting Billy eat it again on a later turn, thereby stacking up special attack boosts one by one. Ghastly is frail enough that just a few boosts should be enough for Psychic to get the one-shot. Of course, we'll still need to outspeed Ghastly so that we don't just die to a Surf. Seemingly, the only answer to that problem is a Custap Berry, but unfortunately, we're not exactly flush for cash. And at first glance, the only thing I can sell is my Lagging Tail, which still doesn't give me enough money for a single Custap Berry. But then I remember that I've got those 10 fancy letters, inarguably my greatest resource throughout this escape room. Without them, I'd be totally lost, and though they may just be pieces of paper, it does break my heart to sell them for pennies on the dollar. Nevertheless, by selling all 10 of them, along with my Lagging Tail, I get to $990. Exactly $10 short of the necessary thou, which means that I also need to sell my lone Oran Berry. But that gets me just enough to buy the Custap Berry, which means that I should be able to execute my perfectly thought out, definitely watertight plan. Now, if you followed the above explanation, you may have noticed that there are a few complicating factors, one of which you can observe on the very first turn of the battle against Zack and Jen's Smeargles. See, in order to eat Rocky's held Pitaya Berry, she needs to use Pluck, and that does a ton of damage to Rocky. Way too much damage, actually. No Natu should have an attack stat that high at level 30. Billy is clearly on some sort of jungle juice made up of Compound V, the Captain America Super Soldier Serum, and whatever they use to make Mr. Beast's smile look like that. The result is that every other turn, Billy needs to use Roost so that Rocky can use Copycat and get back some HP. By repeating this for a few turns, I can get Billy up to +3 special attack as the Smeargles come within 2 turns of dying to poison. But before they do, I need to get Billy into the red so that her Custap Berry will activate exactly on the turn that Ghastly comes in. And to do that, I need to first use Endeavor with Billy so that Rocky can copy it with Mimic. Then on the next turn, all we gotta do is use Pluck one last time to get to +2 special attack, leave Rocky with a sliver of HP, and then hit Billy with Endeavor as the Smeargles go down. The issue is that Pluck is a damage roll to 2-shot Rocky, so if Billy high rolls with Pluck, she'll kill Rocky before she can bring Billy into Custap Berry range. And as it turns out, Billy really likes to kill Rocky. So what follows is over 40 minutes of trying to hit the proper damage rolls with Pluck so that we can endeavor into Custap Berry range. And I gotta tell you, I was starting to get pretty pissed off. I was maybe 70% sure that there was another way to do this that didn't so heavily rely on hitting damage rolls, but after the semi-luck related strategies in some of the earlier fights, there was still 30% of me that figured that this was in fact the correct way to do it, and that 30% was enough for me to continue trying for far, far too long. Eventually, though, exasperated, I tried a slightly different strategy, one that would result in Billy consuming only 3 Pitaya Berries instead of 4. Would that be enough to get the kill on Ghastly with Psychic? I had no idea, but I was willing to try it. The result was that at long last, I had Rocky and Billy exactly where I wanted them. So, with an Endeavor, Billy falls down into the red, both Smeargles fall to poison damage, and out comes Ghastly. The only question was, could Billy get this kill with a +3 Psychic? The Custap Berry activates, Billy fires off a Psychic, and she gets the clean one-hit KO. With Ghastly defeated, Billy grows to level 31. She evolves into Xatu, I teach her the HM for Fly, and with that, we make it back home to Newbark Town, where my mom congratulates me on successfully completing SmallAnt's escape room. The clock stops at 4 hours and 9 minutes as we're inducted into the Hall of Fame. These escape rooms are a ton of fun, and I think SmallAnt does an amazing job at highlighting some extremely niche game mechanics. Pokémon is a surprisingly deep game, with all sorts of quirky interactions between obscure moves and items, and it's always really cool to see how they come together to form a genuinely difficult puzzle. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Or don't, I don't know. But I do know that you should subscribe to SmallAnt and demand that he make more crazy puzzles for me to solve. My usual outro doesn't make any sense for this video because crits were disabled, so, I don't know. Remember to always wear your seatbelt. Okay, bye.